Good morning, everybody. We're back. We're live and in color. We're here to help you how to tell you and coach you on not being taken advantage of by car dealers. I sometimes say ripped off. That's kind of a crude term, but sometimes when you go through the experience that many dealers put you through, you feel like saying some crude things. And we'll give you some ways to work around that. We've been doing this show for a long, long time, about 20 years, and things have changed a lot in the past 20 years. Actually, you probably don't recognize it, but it is getting better. And we have tools today that if you learn how to use those tools, things like the internet and actually artificial intelligence. I know that's a word that's being bandied about all the time now, but it's pretty strong and it's pretty helpful to a lot of people in a lot of ways. And buying a car is one of them. You can go online, and there are tools online that can give you the information. They can give you the best car at the very best price and from the best dealer, and also able to get the best service. Not easy, it should be, but it's not. I mean, if you want to buy a smartphone and you go into an Apple store, that's really easy. If you want to buy just about anything and you go into a Costco store, that's really easy. These retailers have learned that the 21st century consumer, and they actually learned it in the 20th century, is pretty educated and demanding, and if they want to prosper, meaning the seller, the retailers, they have to meet the needs of those buyers. Car dealers, and you regular listeners, I know I'm boring you on this, car dealers have been frozen in time for about 100 years. It would make a great movie. It's almost like one of these prehistoric creatures that's frozen in the ice and then is defrosted and suddenly begins to roam the earth. Well, car dealers are still frozen in ice, but they're roaming too, and they just are not treating you the way a 21st century buyer should be treated. So here we are. Now, the surprising part is our callers and our texters and our YouTubers and our Facebookers, the people that are communicating with us on this live talk radio show, are probably as important, if not more important, than anything we can tell you. We get some of the greatest questions. Remember, questions prompt answers, or sometimes they prompt we don't know, and then we find out. But that interaction, the question, the answers, the suggestions, the criticisms, preferably constructive, but any kind of criticism we accept because we're live. Call us and tell us what's on your mind. These promote a 2 hours of idea exchange, very valuable to you before you wander out and begin to buy a used car or new car or maintain or repair a car. Now, this show started out as pretty much how to buy or lease a car. And then we realized that there's a whole lot more problems encountered in maintaining your car and repairing your car when it needs to be repaired. So we have an expert in the studio. His name is Rick Kearney. He is a certified diagnostic master technician. And I know it's more glamorous to buy a car than to repair a car. When you buy a car, it's fun to some people until you get to the car dealership. But it's a nice experience. You bring that shiny new or shiny used car home, and you show it to your neighbors and your friends and your relatives. You drive it. It smells so good and fresh, runs so well, so much better than that old car. It's kind of like it makes your day, makes your week, you know. But when the car breaks, you're in a bad mood. Now you got to go find somebody to fix it, and that's where your problems begin. Call Rick Kearney at 877-960-9960. That's 877-960-9960 if you're contemplating or suffering with a problem with your car. If you're just worried about it, maybe a noise or an odor, maybe a rattle, all those things that you say, it's probably nothing wrong, but maybe. And when you're going 75, 80 miles down the road on the turnpike, you don't want some little thing that just sounded bad to turn into something dangerous. So better to check it out and talk to somebody who knows. And guess what? It's free. Rick Kearney does not charge you. That's where he makes his living. He's worked for me for over 25 years, and that's where he earns his living fixing, diagnosing, making people happy again after their car breaks. So call Rick, describe your problem. Now, if you don't want to call, live radio can be, daunting, threatening. You can text. We have a text number. That number is 772-497-6530. That's 772-497-6530. My son Stu Stewart normally takes a text. He probably won't be coming in this morning. He's not feeling well. So Rick will be watching those too, the 772-497-6530. So I know you probably don't want to call now. We're going to be in the air for 2 hours. We'll be on the air until 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's a 2-hour show. So if you tune us in, tune us out, later on you come online and you decide to listen or watch us, you can stream us on Facebook. You can stream us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Earl on Cars. youtube.com/Earl on Cars. And you can post actually directly to Rick, because Rick Kearney, the certified diagnostic master technician I was just talking about, monitors the YouTube channel. He's monitoring the texting as well if my son Stu Stewart doesn't show up. And you can also reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/Earl on Cars, and post there too. So there's dozens of ways to get in touch with us. I know this is boring stuff, but it's something we need to get out there, because if you haven't listened to the show before, we want you to know how to contact us. And the unique line we have, that nobody that I know has this, is called anonymousfeedback.com. It's a company called Incognito. If you business people or retailers or anybody out there are interested, it's spelled differently, but you could Google it. Incognito, INCOGNEATO. Not the way the normal incognito is spelled. INCOGNEATO. Google that. It's a company that came up with a great idea. They give various means of communication for people that want to take surveys, that want to get candid, open expressions to protect your privacy. It's a wonderful way to call the show or contact the show. We don't know who you are. We don't know where you are. If we get angry, we can't come and get you because you're anonymous. YourAnonymousFeedback.com, YourAnonymousFeedback, YourAnonymousFeedback.com, and we'll check it out and we'll answer you. If you want a reply, you can say, check a box that says, please reply, and then we can get back to you. So that's where we are. My co-host, Nancy Stewart, is sitting right next to me, shuffling papers over there. And she's the pretty one in the studio, if you're streaming us. And she's also my, she's my partner. She's been with me for 20 years, co-founded the show with me back umpteen years ago when we're only half an hour. And she is not only the co-host, but she's a female advocate. Her strong suit is, she is the one that got this show co-ed. It used to be an all-boys club, and just a bunch of guys were calling the show. You know, guys like cars, especially older guys like me. I mean, cars are our thing. You know, we like to tinker with them, and not me, but a lot of people do. And they like to go fast. I like to go fast. And it's cars are kind of a guy thing. Nancy has turned the car show, Earl on Cars, into a co-ed association. And we get a lot of female callers. We're about 50-50. I know 50% are listening because over 50% of you ladies are buying cars and bring them in for service. So you need the information, probably more than the men do. So Nancy Stewart is going to tell you right now about a unique offer, if you haven't heard the show before. If you're new, and especially if you're female, this offer sounds too good to be true, but it is true. You have my word on it, and you have Nancy's word on it. A special offer if you will call the show. And by the way, if you call the show, you get preferential treatment because we put you ahead of everybody, ahead of the texters, ahead of the anonymous feedbackers, ahead of the Facebookers. because the live radio show call-in, we only have 5 lines. We got to get you fast. We don't want you to hold and hold and hold. So Nancy will stop the show and put your call through. Nancy, the mic is all yours.
Good morning, everyone. Give us a call toll-free at 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. We have a whole lot to get to. First, I'll mention the Boys Club. And, cars were important to me, way back when, in the 50s. And things haven't come, as they're really stuck, I think. And there's a lot of work to be done for the ladies. That is, the work I mention is recognition and respect. It's extremely important. This morning, we're excited to offer a special promotion just for our female listeners. The first 2 new lady callers will receive $50. Yes, $50 as a way of showing our appreciation for your support. We value your input and aim to build a strong female audience.
Can I interrupt? Nancy personally makes these checks out, and she gets the contact information from Jeremy in the studio. So if you're a first-time new female caller, she will guarantee, she writes a check out, she mails it to you personally, she addresses the envelope, puts a stamp on it, and puts it in the mailbox. So this is not a scam offer. It sounds too good to be true, but she really personally looks into it.
I'll add to that I personally talk to most of the ladies. Can't get to all of them, but I do speak to most of them. Back to what I was saying, ladies, give us a call. Your experience purchasing, leasing, servicing. There's a whole lot of us in service, in sales, in leasing, and we want to hear from you and your perspective. If you'd just like to give us a call to say hello, that's acceptable too. 877-960-9960. For the first 2 ladies, $50. We have a whole lot more, as I said, to get to. We're going to talk about the FTC, Earl's conversation just yesterday, I believe. And he's, moving forward. And he's staying focused as far as that is concerned, because guess what? He has you in mind, the consumer. Please give us a call, 877-960-9960, and don't forget about your anonymous feedback, youranonymousfeedback.com. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
I think we overemphasize new cars on this show. I don't think we emphasize used cars as much as we should, and certainly service. I just want you to, there's an article in today's Wall Street Journal, and it addresses used cars. If you're older and if you bought cars 35, 40 years ago, a used car was just like playing Russian roulette. It was just absolutely spinning the chamber of the revolver and pulling the trigger. You never know what you're going to get. Today, with the sophistication that we have of being able to analyze data, and that's really pretty much what it is. It's the whole artificial intelligence Google kind of a thing. Professionals, meaning car dealers, used car dealers, new car dealers, the world now is buying and selling used cars wholesale online. We're buying and selling used cars, the whole industry, the whole world buys and sells used cars online. That used to be, I remember when they first started doing that, I said, a man would have to be crazy, a woman would have to be crazy to buy a car, a used car sight unseen. Car dealers, including me, we have a Toyota dealership for the past almost 50 years in northern Palm Beach County. And an important part of our business is selling used cars. And we have an employee, his name is Ted Caboosh, actually, and his full-time job as wholesaler is going to auctions. He used to fly around the country. He used to go all over buying used cars at wholesale auctions. Now, he doesn't go to auctions anymore. They still have auctions. Some people still go to the auctions. Well, they do have auctions, but they're online auctions. So Ted Kabush, out of his home, has a nice setup of office with monitors and screens and a computer. And he goes from online auction to online auction, and he sells the cars that we want to wholesale, and he buys the cars that we want to buy, that we want to sell, used cars. And the guarantees are such, and the process is such, that it's safer than we used to go to a physical auction, or he did. I didn't go to that many. But when he goes out there, you know how, just like an auction, wheel up, the car wheels up, and they got an auctioneer up there with a gavel, and he's hitting the table, and people are screaming and yelling. You know, the old-fashioned auction. That's the way cars were bought. So here's an evolution of the car business into the 21st century. You can do the same thing now. You go online, and this is the nature, by the way, of the Wall Street Journal article. Nancy showed me that this morning. I'll show you. It's today's. It's in the Heard on the Street section of today's Wall Street Journal. But I can summarize it for you. It says, if you're going to buy a used car, buy it online. Buy it online. You have a lot of Car Guru, Auto Trader, and you have the ability to shop for the price online. You regular listeners know what I'm talking about when I'm saying online. But given that you can actually buy a car as safely as you buy a new car today, that option really opens up a lot of savings for you. I mean, when you buy a new car, you're paying for the prestige of that new car. The new car smell. Nobody's ever owned it before. You know what I'm talking about. But when you buy a one-year-old car, all that depreciation gone. I think we must have a caller.
We do not. But what you're saying is extremely important. But I want to add something to that. You know, in this 21st century, there's two reasons, ladies and gentlemen, that you would go into a dealership. You would physically visit a dealership, and those two reasons are that you would be test driving, or the car was going to be delivered to you, and you were going to drive off the lot.
Oh, yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, there's one old-fashioned thing that you should always follow, as long as we're talking about used cars now. I'm talking about used cars, is having it checked over by a qualified technician. And you want a certified technician in generally in all categories. You can pay him $200, and he can do a quick check on the car for you. It's the best $200 you'll ever spend. And Rick Kearney he checks out a lot of used cars, and there's certain key things you go over. He can tell you if it's been in a flood. He can tell you if it's been in a hailstorm. He can tell you if it's anything that's in the computer, the service history, the repair history. All this information is available, and that's the reason we can safely buy and sell cars online. Professionals, the car dealers are doing. So if they can do it, you can do it, and you can be perfectly safe and buy the car and enjoy the first couple of years depreciation, which is huge, and get a low mileage, almost new car for much less than you'd have to pay.
Hey, great information, Earl. We're going to go to the phones, and we're going to talk to one of our regular callers, and that is Jersey Mike. Good morning, Jersey.
Good morning, folks.
Can I call you
And
Jersey?
Yes, you can if you'd like. Several things. I want to talk to Earl about him going fast. Well, he and I share that because we're about the same age, and back in the day, I bought a 69 Corvette 427 just before they cut all the engines, muscle cars. It was one of the last. And I think the AC Cobra was the only one that was ever built to beat it, and it did just a little bit because they've always been in competition. You know, Ford and Chevy have always been that way.
Oh, yeah.
In any case, that car did 0 to 60 in 4.0 seconds flat. That's by stopwatch on a numerous number of runs, and I really worked the car over. So you know what I'm talking about, Earl, right?
Yeah, that was a huge I mean, anything 6 seconds was considered phenomenal. 4 seconds was off the chart. It was just too fast. And of course, now we're looking at under 2 seconds. And Tesla's got a car coming out that they say will be under 1 second. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I understand. But you know what? That new total hybrid is a very dangerous car. People don't know this, perhaps, but 2 people froze to death up in Washington or Oregon in the last 6 months or whatever it was, last winter, because the lithium battery freezes.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in a remote area, and it was in the news, I recall it. So, you got to be very careful of what you're doing, not to mention the fact that some of those cars catch fire, too, those lithium batteries.
Well, that's true. Of course, if you're in a car in a blizzard and the car won't run, you're in pretty bad shape anyway, whether you got a lithium battery or not. But, yeah. I get your point.
But going back to the racing around, I only took the car out on weekends. And anybody would come up alongside me, I never lost. I mean, and I had it for, I guess, maybe like 7 or 8 years, okay? I paid $7,500 for it, and I sold it for $7,500, believe it or not. I have a lot of fun with it in the meantime, and I wish I held on to it, because if I would have put it in the barometric chamber, I probably could have got $80,000, $90,000 for it today at auction, But anyway, I didn't do that, and I just had a lot of fun. And I only lost one time to what's called a real sleeper, which Earl would know what that is. It was a 1978 Dodge Duster, pea green color, and we were going on Route 80 coming outside of New York City, and it was in the evening around midnight, 12:30, and the 3 lanes coming out going from there all the way to California, basically. In any case, I'm in the middle lane. Speed limit at that time used to be 55 miles an hour because we had a gas shortage. People used to stand in lines, a gas line for like an hour to get gas, if they got it, luckily, okay? But in any case, this car comes up alongside of me in the slow lane, downshift, so I'm looking, it's just totally, completely stopped. I mean, nothing on it that indicates, no tachometer in the window, And I'll tell you what, I had to get off about 3 miles, about a mile down the road to get on another major highway to get to my home. And I brought it right down exactly where I knew my power curve was, which is about 2,200 RPM. I had a very low rear end of it. On the weekends, I would take it.
Mike, you realize the only people enjoying this story are you and me and all the old guys out there. Most of the people have no idea what you're talking about, but I do, and I know exactly the thrill that we had back 50, 60 years ago.
And you know what, guys? I'm going to add to this that, boy, do I see Corvettes everywhere. And, Mike, it is always a pleasure to speak to you. I've got 4 calls backed up, and I am going to have to move on.
Drive safely, Mike.
Yeah, and thank you for thinking of us on Saturday morning. Our phone number is 877-960-9960. That's 877-960-9960. You can text us also at 772-497-6530. Don't forget, we often talk about Earl's Vigilantes. It still exists. It's extremely important. And if you wish to join, you can go to Earl on Cars and you can join Earl's Vigilantes.
Yeah, we need volunteers. The Vigilantes are to help others in your geographic area. I don't know what's going on in Wyoming or Idaho or, for that matter, New York City. If we have people around the country and all over the world actually listening to the show, in your markets you have unique problems. If you're a car person, woman or man, that is into cars, maybe listen to the show, educated consumer, you can volunteer. We give you a hat that says Earl's Vigilantes, and we put you on our website, our EarlOnCars.com. EarlOnCars.com as a representative of the Earl and Cars Show, and people in your area, and maybe you know the same dealer that they do, they're having a problem, you can give them some advice. So Earl's
great
Vigilantes.
Idea. I like the hat, and I like it. Where is the hat anyway? I haven't seen the hat in a long time.
I think it's in my briefcase.
Oh boy, that's not a good place for it. Okay, so you're an educated consumer, and you want to, help out, and you can, there's a few tips you can share with your neighbor, with everyone, and you don't have to know how to take an engine apart. You can just have common knowledge, and you can join Earl's Vigilantes at www.earlsvigilantes.com. Again, our number is 877-960-9960, and we are going to go to a few of our callers that have been holding. Good morning, Marty. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Great.
Last week when Earl talked about, I guess it was Elon Musk's theory that you would pay only 25% in a car, and the car would come to you when you need it,
Yeah.
and then it gets returned. Mm-hmm. Well, I got to ask Earl, how would you handle millions of people doing that? How would you get all these cars to everybody in time to use the car, return the car? So I don't think that system, in my imagination, is ever going to work.
Marty, have you ever used Uber or Lyft?
Yes.
Okay, that's the way it would be done. You'd have a worldwide mobile fleet of cars, and it's a numbers game. And if you're in New York City, and Nancy and I used to travel a lot to New York City. We haven't been there in a few years, but we've been doing that for a long time. One of the most hazardous, dangerous, frustrating problems in New York City was getting a cab. I couldn't hail a cab. Nancy's was my designated cab hailer because she was crazy enough to run out in the street and wave in the middle of Broadway for a cab to stop. But that's not my style. I haven't got that nerve. Suddenly Uber came along. Now if you're in New York City, all you do is whip your app out on your smartphone and hit your app. They know who you are. They've got a description of you, where you are, and they generally guarantee they'll be there to pick you up in 2 minutes. So there's an example of what a mobile fleet can do. Only difference between Uber and what Elon Musk is talking about with Tesla is the cars will be autonomous. So if anything, it'll be one of the criticisms of Uber or Lyft is you're afraid of the driver. Well, there's no driver in the autonomous cars. Rick, what?
Quick note from Donovan here. He says, for the caller, Tesla showed off their new app that is a ride-hailing app for Tesla owners to use their cars in an Uber style.
Yeah.
So I guess you wouldn't even drive your car, but just let your car go.
It's just like Uber or Lyft. Yeah.
Great information.
But my only point is, if you have millions of people doing that, I cannot see. First of all, you'd have to have millions of cars available.
Well, you would. I mean, we're just talking about scale. It would take. It would have to build, just like Uber did. I mean, when Uber first came out, I was so fascinated with the concept. I actually applied and became an Uber driver. I had to fill out all the applications. I actually was an Uber driver just to see what it was like, and it was a fascinating concept. But there were so few cars around. Some communities wouldn't allow Uber in it. I know the airport banned Uber drivers. It was a painful growing process. In a way, Uber and Lyft have paved the way for exactly the Tesla, the Elon Musk robo-taxi kind of a concept. Oh. And so every country in the world now, you can go into any country, anywhere in the world, and take your Uber app and get a ride very efficiently.
Oh, okay. I understand that. I'm just saying mechanically to have so many cars, if everybody did it, you'd take in West Palm Beach. I mean, right now, I don't know how many people have a car in West Palm Beach. And if every single person here was in that system, I just feel it's almost an impossibility that you would have to wait around.
See,
to get your car.
50 years ago, it would have been impossible. Today, we have a lot of words that a lot of people don't understand, but they're important. Quantum computing is one of them, and computers today are so much bigger that I'm looking at the iPhone sitting here in the studio. My iPhone has more computing capacity sitting in front of me. I could put it in my pocket than the world's biggest computer 30 years ago. So if you go back in time, things were impossible. Today, this almost sounds like a pie in the sky. I'm on LSD kind of a statement. But if you can imagine something today, it probably can be made to happen. If the human mind can imagine a concept, it probably can be had with the high technology we have. But trust me on that one, Marty, this will happen. It will happen. It might not be the only answer. I think that some people will want to own a car. That's almost like an evolutionary inherent feeling. People like to own things. So the guy that wants to own his own car, he might have to pay $1 million for it, but that'll be chump change for the guy, and he'll be able to afford it. But 99.9% of the population will be using timeshare autonomous robotaxis.
Okay, Earl, I just hope we're both still alive to see that happen.
Well, I'll double that. I hope we both are too.
And you can include me in on that, Marty.
All right, Nancy.
I'm your age and Earl's age. Pretty close to
All right.
it. Have a great day.
I'm gonna stick to owning my car.
Yeah, me too.
Are you?
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. The same to you.
Rick has a point.
Just a thought, but I bet if you counted the number of cars actually in operation right now that are driving, right now, actually physically driving, I would bet there's probably 20 cars for every one car driving. There are 20 cars in Palm Beach County that are parked and that are ice cold because they have not been driven in the last 5 hours.
Oh, sure, yeah. And that's the whole concept. Think about it. You buy an expensive asset. You buy an expensive piece of merchandise. The second most expensive thing you own. Your home is number one. Second thing is your car. And you park it in the garage 80% of the time, or 75% of the time. Or not the garage necessarily, but wherever you park your car, at the store, at Publix, wherever your car is. We got a lot of people down here especially that have two cars. They have one car. They leave here for 4 or 5 months. We get calls every week. My car won't start when I come back. Do I need a trickle charger? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I mean, all this kind of stuff would go away. Remember, in fact, it's still in effect. Some of the manufacturers came out with a way where you could buy a car, but switch cars back and forth. You could buy a truck and say, well, I don't want the truck anymore. I want a compact. And then you could go back and it'd be a lease kind of thing. I'll trade that in for an SUV. There's still people that are doing that right now, but with a robotaxi, when you use your app, you decide that you want to haul some furniture, you summon a truck. You decide you want to take your kids on a long vacation, you get a 9-passenger van. You decide you want to go somewhere with just your friend or your spouse, and it's a long trip and it's going to be costly. You get a compact economy car.
Yeah.
So
good point.
It's going to take a change in the mind and the psychology of the human race, because cars, it's kind of like the earlier caller we had in the show that had the mindset about drag racing and Corvettes. That changed, didn't it? And now this will change too.
I'm going to interrupt the conversation, go back to the phones. Before I go to Howard, ladies, $50 for the first 2 lady callers. Come on, the lines are open. 877-960-9960. Give us a call, say hello. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Howard.
Hello, Howard.
Hello?
How are you today, Howard?
Fine. I'm good. I hope you all are good. Yeah, I'm enjoying this weather. Unfortunately, next Saturday I go back to New York.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
And I'll
boy.
be back in November. But it's getting hot here, so I don't mind it. Okay, so here's a little story I have to tell you. When I was up in New York last year, battery went bad, and the battery was 4 years old, the original. So I went to a place called AutoZone, had a battery put in. And just recently, the battery started to die on me. Fortunately, I was able to go get it to AutoZone. They gave me a battery, but the battery was smaller. It was a 24F correct, and all the specifications were perfect. It had a reserve of like 175, which is very good. And I checked everything out, but the hold down is on, but it's not fully on. It's steady. So what can I do about that?
Normally, when they sell a battery that has smaller dimensions like that, there's supposed to be an extra bracket. It's a plastic, almost like a honeycombed plastic piece that will snap to the bottom of the battery and increase the height of the battery a little bit so that your hold down clamp will be able to secure it properly. If you don't have that, I would get to a parts store as soon as possible and see if they have one available that you can install, because it's a very dangerous situation that if the battery is not secured properly and it's allowed to slide around, it can actually move a lot of cars. That battery can slide enough that it might let the positive terminal contact that hold down clamp, and it could actually start a fire under the hood. So that's something you want to be very careful of. Yep, Earl has actually Googled up various hold down clamps and adjuster pieces for that that are adjustable to hold it down tight. But you're going to want to make sure that you get that checked out and get that battery secured properly.
You just go to Amazon and put in a battery bracket to accommodate different size, and you'll have a wide variety, price anywhere from $8.99 to one here for $53.99. But you definitely follow Rick's advice. You don't want that rattling around on you.
Okay, great. One other thing, very important. The new Camry that's coming out next year, it'll be hybrid. And it's what exactly, how will it be different than the 2024 hybrid Camry?
I don't know, Rick. Do you know? It's typically we dealers are the last to know about changes in models. The manufacturers keep this really close to the vest because they like the excitement and the build-up, and they like to leak it to the press before they even tell the dealers. But oftentimes, some of these really clever media, either online or magazines, come up and they get the information before we do. I Google it I'm a car dealer, and I would probably Google that question, and I would probably get a third party that would know something I don't know as a Toyota dealer.
Yeah, that's great information, okay. Earl. Howard, do you have any other questions? We have some calls backed up.
No, I know. Yeah, you're backed up. Okay. So long. Have a good day, and thanks for taking my call. Bye.
Thanks, Howard.
Have a safe trip back to New York. Ladies, we have Cindy on the line. She's a first-time caller. But I want to let all of you know I do expect to hear from one more new female caller. And if you didn't jot that number down, 877-960-9960. Win yourself $50 this morning. I have $50 for one more new female caller. Good morning, Cindy, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
And you have won yourself $50 this morning.
Ah!
As a first-time caller, thank you for calling, because you're helping me build a platform right here at Earl on Cars. We would like to build our lady audience, and you're doing that as we speak this morning. Stay on the line whenever we're finished talking, and you can give your information to Jeremy in the control room.
Okay.
He'll pass it along to me, and I'll write you out a check and send it to you.
Sounds great.
What can we do for you this morning?
Well, this is a favorite show of my husband's, so he said, why don't you call Earl and ask him? I bought
Okay.
a brand new Prius. He ordered it in May of last year. It's the state of the art kind of Prius with the sunroof and everything. And I am still waiting. I've talked to Matt and Jason. When am I going to get my new car? And they're saying that I'm up on the list only because 2 people canceled their orders. But I was curious as to why it's taking so long and when I can expect my car.
This is a question, and we'll get to Earl in a second, but this is a question that was asked often during the time of COVID. I'm sure you remember, but there's a lot of factors that affect the placing of an order and the delivery of it. So rather than me ramble, we'll go back to Earl.
Cindy,
Okay, sounds great.
yeah, Cindy, as Nancy just said, it's not as bad a problem as it was a year ago, but is still, especially for the high demand, low supply cars like this Prius you're describing. I'll tell you what we can do, and I can speak to our new car inventory manager. Her name is Laura McElmore, by the way, and she's been with us for over 20 years. Is locating the correct new car, specifically correct new car, is almost an art and a science. The science part, Laura's got the art part down too. She has contacts with Toyota dealers all over the country, and there's a whole cadre, almost like a unofficial club of new car inventory managers. Think of it this way: a car dealer might have 100 cars in inventory. But if you have 100 car dealers, then you have suddenly 10,000 cars in inventory. So we look at our inventory as all Toyota dealers. We've literally gone to California sometimes for very, very difficult cars. We try to deal more closely. So if you'll, we've got your contact information. So I'll get that contact information, and we will check it out in our computer. I will contact Laura McElmore, and she will go on her very, very special hunt and see if she can find something that will speed up and expedite that. We can't promise anything, but as I say, it's an art and a science.
I'll wait because they said it was worth the wait.
You've waited this long, so you can wait if you have
That's
to.
what my husband said.
A little longer, but Cindy, I can tell you that Laura is special, and her talents reach long and far. She reaches.
Great.
It's like a cult, and she helped me out tremendously. And there are customers that are waiting for their vehicles, and there were a couple of customers of mine who were waiting for a vehicle, and because I talked them into changing their mind about something is, well, minute to me, is a color of a car. So there's a lot of things that are holding up the delivery of vehicles that have been ordered. But we are here to help you, Cindy, and to expedite that Prius order. And we will be getting back to you.
Okay, I know that Matt and Jason are like, you're going to like the car once you get it, trust me. And I'm going, yeah, but.
Yeah, once you get it.
That's the key, right?
Right? Okay, Cindy.
All right.
Again,
Well,
thank you
so much.
for representing all the women out there that are listening right now and that are, well, hesitate to give a call. Not everyone likes to talk live on the air like you, but you have encouraged, believe me, a lot of women to give a call to Earl on Cars.
Great. Well, thank you both very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cindy. Have a great weekend. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And, I said earlier, that you shouldn't go into the vehicle, shouldn't go into the dealership unless you're going to test drive a car or you are going to physically take ownership of that vehicle. How do you feel about that? This online purchasing and getting all the information, more information than you would if you went into the dealership. How do you feel about that? The times are a-changing, ladies and gentlemen. Give us a call toll free. Give us your thoughts. We would love to hear from you because, as I always say, you make the show. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
On that same subject, a conversation I had with my attorney that is preparing the amicus, which is a brief that we will submit to the Circuit Court in Texas and the Texas Automobile Dealers Association. We're supporting the Federal Trade Commission's CARS Act, Combat Auto Retail Scams. And the attorney that was preparing the amicus for me asked the question, how do people get ripped off by car dealers? He was a young guy. He's about 40. 40 is a young guy to me, and but, highly educated. I mean, he's an attorney. He's in charge of appeals for a very prominent legal firm, and he says, with all the tools we have online, how are people being taken advantage of today? And he needed this information preparing the amicus brief that goes to the appellate court. And I said, a guy like you, educated, very online is part of your life. I mean, you got a smartphone in your pocket, you got PCs at home, at the office, and everywhere else. You know what Google will do. You know what artificial intelligence is all about. Quantum computing. I mean, you've got all those things in your mind. But think about this. I said, for example, I live in South Florida. My dealership's in South Florida. I said we have a very high immigration population down here. We have people that come here from Cuba, from Haiti, from all around the world. Florida is a little bit like Texas in the fact that we have a lot of people that come in. So a lot of people living in South Florida, English is not their first language. I said, picture yourself in Haiti or in Veracruz or in Mexico City, not speaking the language, having to go in to buy an expensive product. You can't clearly understand the salesperson. You can't read any of the contracts or the papers that you're asked to sign. I said, these people are being victimized. And the population of this type of people is growing and growing in the United States every day. I said, then you have the fact that you're talking about going online. I said, I live in an area with an older demographic. We have, my average customer is in the late 50s, 55, 56, 57-year-old. I have customers that are in their 90s coming in, buying cars, having them serviced. Now, how many of those 80, 90, 70-year-old people are carrying a i15 Pro Max in their pocket? Very few. A lot of them don't even have PCs. A lot of my customers say, please don't text me. I don't do texting. So these are the victims. The women particularly are victims, and they're the people that were the women that were born in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. That back in those era, it was, you think it's a man-dominated world today. Try being 70 or 80 years old as a woman. Your husband probably statistically predeceases you, and when your husband passes away, a woman, they didn't make the purchase. They weren't the one that bought the home. They bought the cars, made the decision on any of the expensive financial considerations. So now they're thrown into the world of the South Florida car dealer. The elderly widows, people whose English is not their first language. Education is an issue. We all know that. How many high schools are really qualified, and how many people go all the way through high school? How many people are college graduates today? So all these things combine to create a huge supply, if you will, of gullible people, and I use that term cautiously because they're not gullible, they're just disadvantaged, and they get taken advantage of by car dealers. So that's the reason this legislation is desperately needed, and this is the reason that we have to do everything we can, not only to get this legislation through in July on the Federal Trade Commission Combat Auto Retail Scams, but also to make it enforced. Regulations and laws don't do a damn bit of good unless you enforce them. And we don't have the budgets with the enforcement agencies, the Consumer Affairs, the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Federal Trade Commission. All these people that are supposed to be enforcing regulations don't have the teams to go out there. So the dealers are getting away with bloody murder.
Absolutely. Great information, Earl. And, we believe in a competitive market, and it depends on a few factors here. And those factors are transparent pricing, where consumers can compare prices for different products. And that's the essence of capitalism. And Earl is doing a great job, and he's not going to let you down. He never did. And cracking down on junk fees and lower costs for consumers, that's what he is all about. And he thinks about you. And that's what gives him, the energy to move forward on this and never quit. We are going to go to our favorite female caller, and that is Tricia. And she's been holding, and Tricia calls us from Boca. Good morning, Tricia. Welcome.
Wow, I'm honored. Wow, favorite.
How'd you like that in your introduction?
I love it, but I don't know. Hopefully, I'll help you with your advocacy to get more women to call. Because I'm going to tell you, women, I listen to this show every Saturday ever since I signed up. And yes, they send out the $50 right away, just like they say. And it's my go-to show. So I hope that helps with other women wanting to call in.
It will. It definitely will. It changes everything. It's encouraging. It definitely is. For every female caller that's listening right now, they're listening to you. Hey, Tricia, what can we do for you this morning?
Okay, I have a two-part question. My first part question is very challenging for Rick. Okay, every once in a while, I have the 4 lights to the left of the speedometer go on, Rick. All 4. Nothing is wrong. My tires aren't, my tire pressure is okay, whatever. And then they might go off for a week and they'll come on again. I've had this red, Rick, 3 times. Every time they put in the computer analysis, it comes up, cannot read, nothing wrong. Yesterday I went to my favorite mechanic, been around a very long time. He used 2 computer boards. One of them even came up with a code, UA 301 or something like that, unable to read or whatever it was. He even had to look it up. Cannot read it, cannot get a diagnostic, anything on it. He said, I can't help you because this is not showing me anything. Right now, my lights are off, so it seems when the diagnostic tool goes in there, the lights go off, but then they might come on a week from now. What's going on? No one can figure it out.
First question, what is the car, please? The year, make, and model?
Yes, 2016 Honda Fit, and may I tell you, she had a birthday last weekend. She turned 100,000 miles.
Oh boy! Happy birthday!
And
Yes.
the four lights that come on, what do they look? What do each of those 4 lights look like?
I know one's the tire one, one's the road hazard one. I don't know this. How do I describe? A light. It's the standard 4 lights to the left of the speedometer.
Okay, because the problem is that every manufacturer is going to have different lights in different spots.
Okay.
The fact that they're coming on like that and then going back off,
Yeah.
and there's nothing being recorded in history, to me that almost seems like a power or ground issue. The first thing I would be looking at is I'd be checking the negative terminal on the battery and the ground source for the battery to make sure those are tight. Obviously, checking the positive as well. Make sure that your connections at the battery are tight. But for your mechanic, what I would be doing for him next is I would try pulling that instrument cluster out just enough that you can reach to the back of it, where he can get to the back of it, and try wiggling the wires and see if you've got a loose connection there, and then trace where the ground wire is. Because for some reason, it just seems like ground wires are always the first thing to loosen up and start to cause a problem. And I would go what's called a wiggle test, where you're actually shaking the wire harness at various times to try to get something to simulate what condition is being caused. And, in other words, something is changing. And with cars, it's usually got to do with you're driving down the road, you hit the tiniest little bump, but that bump vibrates a wire that's a little bit loose, and it loses connection for a moment, and that's what triggers those lights to come up and on. Now, when he is tested with his computer, were the lights on when he was testing it, or had they turned off already?
Yes. That's the only time I test it with the lights on. Yes.
Okay, so the lights were actually on, and it still wouldn't communicate.
Correct. And now, usually, I've had several guys do this after they test it. Now the lights are off. Like right today, the lights are off because he just tested it yesterday. So it's like it, and that happened to the other guy I went to. He went to test it, put in the codes, the car, blah blah blah. Nothing came up, and I drove away. The lights went off. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but just letting you know.
I'll jump in here quickly. I Googled this, and you're not alone. There's a whole lot of people with your Honda Fit that are talking about the same thing, and it's baffled a lot of people. One of the comments was that it was a self-check of the lights, and it's still a glitch because it shouldn't be happening like that. So you've got a chronic problem. It's not unique to you. I would say you ought to go directly to Honda and talk about what happened. Be as specific as you can. Copy the dealer, but once Honda gets into it, I think Honda needs to get a factory representative to address that.
I know. I was thinking that, but Honda's going to charge me an arm and a leg just to do a test.
Well, no, just get the factory, the manufacturer, to tell. See, the manufacturer should be able to contact the dealer. They might either dispatch a Honda factory technician to the dealership. He's the expert of experts to take a look at it, or they might have some advice for them. But the dealer might try to overcharge you, but before you get overcharged, you need to get the correct diagnosis. And the Honda manufacturer, the 800 number on their website, call them, give them the information on your car, give them your complaint, the name of the dealer, and they'll put the dealer together with the manufacturer, and you'll have the two of them working instead of just the one of them.
Okay, what if, so my second part of the question is, all right, the car's running fine, nothing, I've had everything fixed, she's, over 100,000 miles. She's running fine. What if I just don't do anything and just live with this, and it's not a real problem? It's just a stupid glitch.
Well, that's okay if you have to, but you should. It'll take you 5 minutes to contact Honda. Call Honda, have information prepared, and go on record. Confirm in writing on email or text or something about what you said. Just go on record with the manufacturer, and then if you still don't get any satisfaction, I agree. Just keep on driving until something happens. I hate to tell you that, but if it is a diagnostic check of the diagnostic lights, which almost sounds like a joke, but apparently Honda does have something that causes the diagnostic lights to check themselves, and maybe there's a glitch in that.
That's actually called the bulb check.
Yeah.
Is when you first start a car, all the lights will come on for a few seconds, and the reason for that is if one of them is burned out, you would notice it if that light doesn't light up.
Yeah.
And mechanics look for this when we get in the car. The first thing I do is I look to see when I start the car, do all the warning lights come on?
Yeah, yeah.
Because if it's one doesn't, I know there's a problem.
So the glitch could be
that I need to
causing all the
recommend.
warning lights to come on to check itself, and there's
Right.
absolutely nothing wrong with the car.
Right. See, that's why I say, a wiring issue. If you get to those wires and shake them, and suddenly those lights come on and off, on and off.
Yeah.
Now you've found
And of course,
where that
but the
connection
body,
is.
yeah, and that's what Honda hopefully will tell the dealer to do.
Right.
So Rick's telling you to do it, and get Honda to tell the dealer to do it, and the dealer will do it.
Yeah.
Okay, second major question, nothing to do with this. As you know, I really eventually want a hybrid. I would like to find a Honda Fit hybrid. The only ones I've seen are in Japan. Do they have them? Do you have them? Does anyone have them here in the U.S.?
I'm not familiar with the Honda hybrid availability, but I could Google that for you.
And while he's looking that up, my buddy Donovan here.
Oh, Donovan.
This
He's
guy
amazing.
he is incredible.
Yeah.
He says, for the caller, I did a quick search. The car might need to have a carbon buildup check. Lots of people have had this issue on Reddit, which is a worldwide information sharing site. They've had carbon buildup issues that cause these lights to come on. So that may be something to have your mechanic try. A carbon buildup test, which basically means that carbon is building up in the engine. It's certainly possible. I mean, I would give it a shot. Maybe see if it run a quick carbon clean out test and.
And I got the answer. The Honda Fit is no longer available in the United States.
Okay.
Okay, here, Rick, would you spell that? Reddick?
Reddit. It's REDDIT.
I see.
And
I know that. Yes, I know.
It's actually a collection of forum sites
Okay.
that they cover literally every subject in the world.
Yeah, you can spend hours on that
and
website.
even a few that aren't in this
Yeah.
world. I mean, there's
Sure.
some wild stuff on
Yeah.
there.
So, Tricia, what do you think you'll do?
I am going to do that carbon buildup test.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Like you
Yeah, the carbon buildup test is I think the way to go. Tricia, again, I have some callers to get to, and I want to thank you for giving us a call as regularly as you do, and I'm going to do a little advertising here for Earl's Vigilantes. You would be the first woman if you so choose to sign up. And you can go to www.earlsvigilantes.com, and you can win yourself, you don't win just by joining. You get yourself a vigilante cap, and like I said earlier, you don't have to be able to, disassemble an engine. You sound very knowledgeable, and you are definitely an educated consumer. Good luck with your Honda and the carbon the carbon buildup test.
I've also wanted to sign up to be a secret shopper, but I haven't heard from anybody yet. So.
Okay, well, you will, and you will soon. Again,
Thank you.
Tricia, thank you so much for calling. 877-960-9960. Text us at 772-497-6530, and we will shortly get to the texts that have come in on Facebook, and Rick is going to take care of some YouTubes, and we are right now going to get to John from Palm City. Good morning, John.
Good morning. I have a question for Earl
Okay.
about dealer franchise. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, you did a shopping report on Massey Yardley. Is that the same Massey Yardley that had the franchise taken away in Stewart?
I'd forgotten about that. In fact, I don't remember that. But that is, there's only one Massey Yardley. What happened, John? Why did they take his franchise away?
I have no idea. I heard that Chrysler took it away, and nobody ever in the paper or anything
Oh,
had
okay.
anything about it.
I think that was...
It's a motorcycle, Indian motorcycle dealership now.
Yeah, that was during the Great Recession. You know,
Yes.
the Chrysler was cutting way back, and remember the government had to go in and subsidize Chrysler and General Motors. They didn't have to help Ford, but they did General Motors and Chrysler. And Chrysler was cutting the number. They had too many dealerships, so they cut Massey Yardley. It wasn't that he'd done anything wrong. It was just an economic thing.
Well, that wasn't the only thing that happened in Stewart. Toyota or Stewart had their franchise taken away.
Well, that
but
was a
not
different
by the
story.
manufacturer, by the distributor.
Yeah.
So the Stewart is noted, even used car dealers. It's unbelievable with a reputation. But what I want to say is, why are the manufacturers, including an outfit like Napleton, why are they so hesitant with all the complaints that are registered against a particular dealer? Why are they so hesitant to not revoke the franchise of these certain dealers?
Well, there's two reasons. One reason is the state franchise laws, which were lobbied into effect by the car dealers. They've got associations that I think they're tougher than the Trial Lawyers Association. There are lobbying groups that are so powerful. They, to a large extent, run our country. They run the state legislatures. They run the Congress, the Senate, and that's what happened with the state laws. You almost have to be a murderer and a rapist to be canceled as a dealer. It's absolutely impossible with the protection in state laws. And that's why you don't see Napletons and a lot of these other people that are terminated, because the state protects them. The Florida Automobile Dealers Association, the Tampa Automobile Dealers Association, the Miami Automobile Dealers, the Jacksonville, millions and millions of dollars are in these political action committees, and this money funnels into Tallahassee, and the laws are built to protect the dealers no matter what they do. The other reason is the fact that the manufacturers are primarily in business for one reason, to make a profit. And the dealers that sell the most cars make the most profit for the manufacturers. Now, if you have a big dealer, and oftentimes the biggest dealers are the biggest crooks. I mean, we have Toyota dealers out there that are selling over 1,000 cars a month. We have some Toyota dealers that sell close to 2,000 cars a month. Now, the average Toyota dealer sells about 120 cars a month. So you can imagine when a naughty Toyota dealer that's selling 1,500 cars a month gets in trouble, and people are complaining, the courage it would take for Toyota to cancel that dealership, which would knock out 1,500 new Toyotas a month that dealer's buying from Toyota. So state lobbying, legislature laws protecting the dealers, and the greed of the manufacturers are the reason that dealers are not disciplined and canceled when necessary when they disobey the rules.
Well, another industry I'll mention is Anheuser-Busch. They weren't hesitant to take away a franchise in Orlando from a very famous baseball player. They also revoked a franchise. I lived in New York then, of a Nassau County Budweiser distributor called Harbor, and they were a big outfit, and they prepared with their lawyers, and they went and took action. So even in spite of state alcohol laws and everything, when they're wrong, they go get them.
Yeah, the beer distributors don't have the lobby, and you know, ironically, the reason the car dealers have the lobby is because of the manufacturers. See, when the franchise system and the car dealer concept first came into effect, back with Henry Ford, there was they didn't have a way to retail their cars. They needed the retail outlets to do it. And it was like a gold mine to be able to have a franchise to sell this new phenomenon, these new Fords, and pretty soon new GM cars, and so on and so forth like that. So the manufacturers were like demigods. They would dictate to the dealers, if you don't do this or do this, we'll take away your franchise. And you need to buy 100 more new cars this month. If you don't buy another 100 new cars from me, the manufacturer, I'm going to cancel your franchise. And they were so vicious, and they abused the car dealer network so bad. I'm talking about the manufacturers, that the dealers unified. It's just like why unions exist in this country, because they were afraid of the employers. So they were afraid that the manufacturers would cancel them, and they went to they went to Florida and Georgia and all the states, and they lobbied in laws to protect themselves. But it got out of control, and they lobbied in so many laws that nobody can get rid of them now. The manufacturers can't get rid of them. The regulators can't get rid of them. Once you have a franchise to sell new cars in the United States, it is in effect a lifetime franchise. I mean, I'm a dealer. I'm a Toyota dealer. I'm immune to Toyota. They can criticize me, but they can't cancel my franchise, because I suppose if I was convicted of murder or rape or something, they might be able to cancel my franchise. But outside of that, I'm here for a long, long time.
One fast topic: the union now came down south. Mercedes-Benz in Alabama, they voted to unionize. Next, it's coming into Tennessee with Volkswagen. So it looks like they came down here real strong, and nobody knows who's going to be next.
Yeah, the union's coming back. They're got the auto manufacturers worried, and the union is making some big inroads in the South, which the South used to be immune to unions, and now they're scoring. Starbucks, look at that. A lot of places you never thought, even Amazon. So the unions are the pendulum is swinging in the other direction.
Yes. We'll see what happens, because what they're worried about is job security almost more than wages.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll let you go.
Thank you, John.
It's great hearing from you, John. Before we go any further, I think I'm going to turn this over to Rick. He's got a lot of things going on over there he'd like to share with our listeners.
Yeah, we got an interesting one here from Donovan. He says, this week, Consumer Reports released the results of a survey on car maintenance costs. And Tesla, not surprising, came in with the lowest overall maintenance cost for the first 10 years of ownership. Years 1 through 5 is about 50% less, and for 10 years, it's about $1,000 lower than the next closest brand of Buick, Toyota, and Lincoln. Not surprising, Land Rover had the highest cost of over $4,000 for the first 5 years of ownership, with Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Infiniti, and Acura being the next most expensive for maintenance. And
the other interesting thing about that story, Donovan, I read that too, is that of the top 5, the lowest maintenance cost, and you mentioned Tesla, that was number 1, the lowest maintenance, but the other 4 were all American-made cars. There were, you had, Toyota was the only foreign car that foreign-owned manufacturer that was in the lowest cost. Tesla, Buick, Lincoln, and Ford, all American companies, and only one Japanese company were in the top 5 in low maintenance.
Yep.
So,
yeah, that was a great article. I got a lot of phone calls about that, and there were a lot of questions asked.
Well, the good news is maintenance is just incredibly small compared to what it used to be. So it used to be a huge consideration. Today it's very, very minor.
To what you just said, it used to be a huge consideration. I used to talk about it a lot. Okay, Rick, back to you.
We are going to go to Anne Marie's text. She says, good morning. Here's an update on a topic that we covered a while back. The New York Times ran a story on April 23rd, written by their technology and privacy reporter, entitled How GM Tricked Millions of Drivers into Being Spied On, including me. The reporter and her husband bought a Chevy Bolt back in December, and LexisNexis, which this is spelled LEXISNEXIS, no relation to the Japanese car maker, LexisNexis Risk Solutions and Verisk were the two risk profiling companies that have been getting their detailed data ever since. Their car salesman said he enrolled the customers for OnStar because his pay was docked if he didn't do so, because it was a mandate from General Motors, which sends the dealership a report card each month tracking the percentage of signups. It turns out what car buyers are faced with multiple screens for different programs, including OnStar and Smart Driver, that buyers can say yes to when buying a car. And obviously most people will opt right in on those screens. What the programs do can be confusing, but it was clear to the reporter that none of the programs that allow for over-the-air updates and allow GM the ability to track the vehicle's performance in case they ever need to make a recall ever mention turning the data over to risk management companies who will then sell the information to insurers. A General Motors spokeswoman said, based on customer feedback, we've decided to discontinue the Smart Driver product across all GM vehicles and unenroll all customers. This process will begin over the next few months. The story adds, last month GM stopped sharing data with the risk-sharing companies and hired a new chief trust and privacy officer. It has been reported that there are other auto manufacturers that share data that ends up with insurance companies. The trouble is that the cars don't report if a different person is driving. So if someone borrows your car, makes jackrabbit starts, speeds, and jams on the brakes, that data may be reported to a company who will sell it to your insurance company, and your bill will go up even if you weren't the person driving wildly. I understand why automakers would like data coming in from connected vehicles so the company can see if there are any problems developing which can necessitate a recall. That is acceptable and reasonable. Speaking as a consumer, a car company selling a vehicle's data for extra profit to risk management companies and the insurance companies is not acceptable. It has been reported that Subaru shares data, but one is supposed to be able to opt out of that. So have you heard of any other automakers who share data with insurance providers? Does Toyota share data with risk assessment companies or insurance providers? And if so, can that be stopped or avoided? And for those that didn't read the New York Times, there is a version of the story also on the site Jalopnik.
Well, that's I look at it this way: sharing data and gathering data by other manufacturers is not a sin in and of itself. In fact, I think it's important that it be done. I agree totally that it should not be sold. It should not be gathered, certainly for the purpose of selling and making a profit. But data from automobiles is vital to safer vehicles. Here's an example. Nancy and I yesterday, we had lunch at a local restaurant, and we have a Tesla Plaid, and we've talked on this show about our harrowing experiences with the autonomous, fully self-driving feature, and we periodically get software updates, and we try it out. Well, the last couple times we tried it out, it was frightening. We had some close calls, so we just decided we weren't going to do it anymore. We got 3 software updates, and I just ignored them. But the last software update I got, I read it, and I was so impressed. Now, getting back to Anne Marie's point, Tesla gathers millions and millions of videos from all the hundreds of thousands or millions of Teslas on the road. They have cameras all over the car. They take these videos, and with the supercomputing, quantum computing we have now, they can feed these videos into these giant quantum supercomputers, and they take the data from the safer drivers, and instead of having digital commands written out to tell the computer how to drive the car autonomously, they convert the video, the actual video, which the human brain you can't describe, but the video itself is a description of safe driving. So they've been feeding these videos into our car, our Nancy's and my Tesla. So we tried it yesterday. We're at a restaurant in Palm Beach Gardens. We live in Jupiter. So we got out of the restaurant, we put it on autonomous, said, take me home. And Nancy was nervous, I was nervous. I had my hands on the wheel because you have to do that, or else it'll take away your autonomous privileges. And so I kept my hands on my wheel. We changed lanes, we came to stoplights, we turned corners, and it took us home totally safely with no excitement. Nothing, nobody screamed or yelled, nobody had to slam the brakes on. It was amazing.
Pretty smooth.
It was amazing. And so, getting back to Anne Marie's point, this is from data that is gathered by the car. Now, should Tesla share that with other auto manufacturers with autonomous cars? I say yes. Should they share that with insurance companies? I don't see why not. I think that I don't want them to share it for commercial reasons, and I do want the people that own the car to give the permission. So I think Anne Marie's point is well taken. The owner of the vehicle should give the permission. I have given Tesla, Nancy and I have signed off on Tesla taking our data and using it. So with all that, it is critical that this driving information be made available to the manufacturers and to the insurance companies. I mean, I don't want to see my insurance premiums go up, or Nancy doesn't want to see her insurance premiums go up, but by the same token, she wants to see other drivers on the road insurance premiums go up if they're bad drivers. Maybe they'll go up high enough where they'll stop driving. But insurance companies are not all bad. There are a lot of bad ones, but there are a lot of good ones, and they're necessary. You have to have car insurance. So privacy is an important issue, but total privacy, carrying things to the point where nobody can see anything I do, I think is going too far. So, Anne Marie, amazing question. You're our best texter by far. Donovan, I'm sorry, you tied with Anne Marie.
Let's put it this way: Anne Marie is our best female texter,
yeah.
and Donovan, of course, leads the pack on the guys. He is amazing, and he is a book of knowledge like Anne Marie.
The pair of them definitely help out the show.
Definitely.
Okay, this one is coming in from Nick. He says, when you purchase a new or used wheelchair accessible modified van, is the title flagged as rebuilt due to the floor being lowered, or should the title remain unchanged?
I don't know.
And that, to me, is a very interesting question, because I don't think it would be a rebuilt title, because a rebuilt title indicates a car that has been totaled in an accident and then rebuilt to be back on the road. Whereas these wheelchair vans, they do actually cut a large section of the floor pan and they lower it in order to be able to modify it for the wheelchair lift and the ramp assemblies. I should think it would simply be called a modified vehicle, not a rebuilt. So therefore, the title should remain completely normal.
Yeah, it also probably depends on. You just can't blanket say any modification. I I plead ignorance on this, and we'll do some research. I was Googling while Rick was talking, but my fingers weren't fast enough. There's an answer out there, and I'm sure a lot of people have encountered this. They're probably certified, I'm sure they're certified handicap accessible companies that do this, and I'm sure to be certified to do this, they are not allowed to modify a vehicle in any way that would make it unsafe to the next owner. So that's what I feel. We will Google that or chat GBT it or something, and we'll get an answer to that. Unless Rick is finding it as we speak, we'll have it for you next week. While you're Googling, let me just talk about the mystery shopping report. And I should have done this at the first of the show, but I didn't. This is such an important thing that we do on the show. I don't want to pat us on the back. I don't want to, but when you do something that's really unique and really good, you got to talk about it. And that's what we do with the mystery shopping report. Every time I talk to an attorney, every time I talk to the Federal Trade Commission, every time I talk to the media, they all are amazed that we actually send an undercover agent every week into a car dealership somewhere in the country pretending to buy or lease a car, and we report exactly what happened, the good, the bad, the ugly. We name names, we name dealerships. I said to the attorney I was speaking to yesterday, because I love to tell attorneys this because they always have heart palpitations when I tell them that I go in and I pretend to buy a car, and if I think the dealer broke the law, I say so. And I name his name, I name the dealership, the salesman, the sales manager, and a lawyer looks at me like I've lost my mind, and I say, but I've never been sued in 20 years. And then he smiles and says, well, obviously, because truth is the perfect defense against libel and slander. Anyway, we are going to do this mystery shopping report in just the next few minutes. And we have a mystery shopping report in South Florida. Sometimes we're in Pennsylvania and Michigan. We do another South Florida dealer today, and it is, as you regular listeners know, South Florida is the Sodom and Gomorrah of the car dealer retail industry.
Amazing.
Any luck, Rick, on that?
No, because the only thing that came up was a huge list of reports about salvage titles on used wheelchair vans that were totaled in an accident and then put back on the road.
Yeah. I'm going to guess that if you use a certified company to do a modification for a wheelchair or any handicap adaptation, I'm sure, because we're talking federal laws now, I'm sure that they're not going to allow a modification that could anyway make the vehicle unsafe. And that's what we're talking about. So we'll verify this, we'll get the facts, and we'll get the texter, the official answer next week. Any more?
Let's see. Trying to check over the, whoa, we just had a whole bunch pop up here. Let's see. Well, one question we do have here is from Kim Appreciates Life. She says, I'm so torn between getting a Tesla or a Toyota/Lexus SUV. The question is, which is more expensive to insure?
That's a great question. I'll have to Google that too. My guess would be the Tesla, but I'm not sure what. Tesla has an issue with repairs because, and speaking as a Tesla owner, Nancy and I have encountered that. I've had a few fender benders, not Nancy, it was me, and Tesla doesn't have very many repair shops for collision repair. All the dealers that they have, which are Tesla owned, can do the mechanical repairs, but there are very few collision certified. So when that happens, you're talking more cost. Tesla also uses different materials, high-tech more expensive materials that would be used. So I would say you're probably better off to go with a if that's the measure of your decision making, you're better off to go with a Lexus, or what was the other Toyota?
She said either a Toyota or a Lexus SUV.
I think you're going to get your insurance is going to be less in the Toyota Lexus.
Well, and Donovan happened to kick in on that one as well. He says, I am paying about a little over $600 a month, or $600 for a 6-month policy on a Tesla Model Y. And he says he's with Progressive Insurance.
That's good. 6 months. Well, I wonder why 6 months instead of a year.
Don't know. I mean,
yeah. I would think the longer the policy, the lower the price. But maybe he only needs to. Maybe he's going to sell it in 6 months. So that's probably what it is.
It fits his needs.
My own my vehicles under State Farm, we actually pay each month, and for 2 vehicles, we're just a little under $200.
Yeah, but you're not month to month. Don't you have to sign a contract for?
No, it's month to month.
Oh, you can cancel a month. Oh, I didn't realize that.
And you know, I know a lot of people that do just that. They do month to month.
Yeah, I guess everybody does. What am I talking about?
You know?
See, you're talking about a car dealer who doesn't have to have personal insurance. So
yeah.
I've never. Well, I did. I did for the Tesla. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah, yeah. And on another subject, the Tesla. But have you noticed the number of Teslas that have the dents and the bangs and this and that are on the road?
I see one every morning when I go out in the garage.
You mentioned. I told you I wanted to fix that. I could fix that. Anyway, back to Rick.
Oh, okay, we have. Okay, this is Roadrunner Steve. He says Tesla cameras in car. Me and my girlfriend no more in the back seat. From Roadrunner Steve.
Yeah. You know, that is really funny. But the Tesla has got more cameras. I'm telling you, and you just have to get used to it. But I every now and then I go looking for cameras. I haven't even found. You know, when it shows up on my display screen, suddenly they did a software update a week or so ago. And I said, I didn't know they had a camera back there. And they hide them so well that they have cameras all over the car. Now, on my display, I can see 360 degrees. You know, you talk about being safe. You know, remember when the backup cam came out, and I just couldn't. I was blown away. Everybody's got to have a backup cam, and now with the Tesla we're driving, it's actually distracting because when I'm driving now, and I'm driving the Tesla, I've got a picture. I think I got 6 or 8 cameras covering every angle around the car. And then I've also got my side view mirrors. I've still got that. I've still got my rear view mirror. I've still got my eyeballs. I can go like that. So when I come into an intersection, I'm thinking about making a turn. Suddenly I find my eyes hitting each camera, the rear view mirror, the side view mirror, and I'm looking at so much stuff, I'm wondering maybe I got too much information.
And I'm looking at you.
Yeah, and Nancy's looking at me like I'm crazy. So but anyway, too much of a good thing is what I'm saying.
That's pretty interesting, Jersey Mike. I really like the way you think. And that doesn't stop me from changing my glass in the car. You know, there are so many women out there. Ladies, you don't have time to call in now, but there's another subject for you. Give me a call next week. And it's done so quick that I don't even know if it can be caught on camera.
I don't know.
But I still do it. Anyway.
I know one of the things I like on the Tesla forums on Reddit are the videos that people will post of what their Teslas will capture on video while the car is parked.
Yeah.
I mean, the amazing things that the car records, and you're nowhere near the car,
well,
but it's recording it all the time.
I can go to my app on my phone right now, and I can pull up the Tesla parked in the studio parking lot here at the radio station, and I can get a 360 view, 360-degree view. I can see inside the car. I can see behind and on either side of the car at every angle. I can also blow the horn, pop the trunk, pop the. I can open it. I can unlock it or lock it. I mean, it's every now and then. Nancy, I'll be having lunch somewhere, and the car will be out in the parking lot. And if I'm feeling evil, I will take out my app and wait till somebody's walking down the sidewalk and blow my Tesla horn just to see what happens.
Well, I'd be a little careful about that because, truth be told, one of the big things I see on that site are videos of people maliciously, just for no reason, but they call them the Tesla haters.
Oh, there are a lot of them out there. Yeah.
They walk by with a piece of metal and gouge the paint on Teslas just because they don't like the brand.
I can also summon my Tesla, and it'll come over to wherever I am. If I'm
That really
Now,
gets some
that part,
attention.
I love that part because the amount of times in Florida that I've walked out of the mall, a store somewhere, and it's just a wall of rain coming down. You don't have an umbrella. You don't have any protection. The water's 6 inches deep in the lanes to your car.
Yeah.
And if you could have your car pull right up under the
Yeah,
cover to you.
It is
We gotta do the
definitely
Mr.
a
Shopping
plus.
report here.
Speaking about parking cars and so on and so forth, we have a mystery shop here that we have to get to. Before we do, I want to let everyone know we didn't forget the Dog of the Week. We don't have one this morning. I hope you went to Big Dog Ranch Rescue. That's www.bdrrdog.org, and you took a look at Millie. That's who we had last week. She came to us from Big Dog Ranch virtually. And we'll be back on target next week with Big Dog Ranch. And, I have to say, as a sidebar here, not only do they have puppy land out there and the veterans, thing out there, but they have senior dogs, and these senior dogs are just so cute, and they're really set in their ways, just like us as seniors, and they too are worth adopting. And don't forget about Earl's book, because the Dog of the Week, we will send you to www.earlsbook.com, because the Dog of the Week that we show, all the proceeds go to Big Dog Ranch whenever you purchase that book. Okay, we're running out of time. I want to congratulate our mystery shopper, Agent Lightning. Guess what? She just became a grandmother. Okay, we are going to go to Mercedes of Coconut Creek. And that was the mystery shop that she did this past week. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
Well, as you said, Mercedes of Coconut Creek. AutoNation owns that store. Most AutoNation stores use the name AutoNation, but the luxury car, for some reason, I think they lobbied against changing the names to AutoNation. They want the luxury name that they invested so much in to remain on the dealership sign. So when you go to a luxury dealership, you should check to see if it is AutoNation. I say that in a positive sense because AutoNation stores generally do better in our mystery shopping reports. It's publicly owned. They're the largest, or maybe the second largest retailer now of automobiles in the United States. So we mystery shop Mercedes of Coconut Creek, which is in the Fort Lauderdale area of South Florida, the Sodom and Gomorrah of car retailing. I'll speak in the first person as if I were Agent Lightning. I arrived late afternoon and was greeted by Marcos, who was distracted taking pictures of a sports car that had been brought into the showroom. He looked up, smiled, and mentioned, "This car is absolutely gorgeous." I learned it was a used AMG GTR with 1,000 miles, and the asking price was $199,999. According to Marcos, there are only a few in the world, and this one just came in last night. Now, I wasn't familiar with this high price, super duper Mercedes. I Googled it, and it's a hell of a good-looking car. Apparently, I guess it's at the top of the line with Mercedes. I saw some of them advertised at $300,000 and $400,000. I had no idea Mercedes had such a car, but it's the AMG GTR. Only had 1,000 miles on it. Back at the report, I said I have to agree. Do you have any specials going on right now? Not on the GTR, but the car that I came in to see. It's the end of the month, and it's a slow day. I underlined that when I read Stu's report. Stu wrote this up because the end of the month is supposed to be gangbusters. For some reason, at this AutoNation store, Mercedes of Coconut Creek, it was a slow day. So we're looking to make a sale. Perfect timing, Marcos replied. Would you be open to pre-owned, or do you prefer new? Used or new? What type of vehicle are you interested in? I think I prefer a smaller SUV. What do you have available, I asked. Marcos then inquired, will you be trading in anything today? He showed me a few options, explained how their models work. I decided on the GLA 250. Let's go for a test drive, he suggested, asking for my license. The Minority label was in the glove box. It's a little inside joke here, or not so inside, that every week when we're in Florida, the Minority label is never on the window where the federal government federal law says it must be. It's always someplace else. Sometimes it's on the dashboard, sometimes it's in the trunk. This one was in the glove box. Federal law says that the Minority label must be affixed to the window of the car and only removed by the owner. But in South Florida, they say, to hell with you, federal government. We'll put that Minority label anywhere we want. And AutoNation, of all companies, a publicly owned company, the largest retailer or second largest retailer, is flaunting the Minority law. Now, I don't say that to put them down from a score standpoint, because we vote on this mystery shopping report and we're asking for your vote. Keep in mind that all the dealers in Florida like to put the Minority label someplace else. So we have to grade on the curve. We can't hold that against them. At any rate, as I say, it was in the glove compartment. There was a dealer addendum attached to the windshield. Again, this is SOP almost everywhere, especially Florida. That's stuck on the windshield. I usually say next to the Minority label, but they take the Minority label off and hide it in the glove compartment and leave their addendum label on. And again, I hate to say it, it's standard operating procedure in Florida. It added a 3-year appearance package on this addendum label for $699, 3-year dent protection for $699, window tint for $299. Oh God, $299 for window tint. Mercedes-Benz of Coconut Creek's asking price was $52,172. Marcos unlocked the car, sent me out while he made a copy of my license. He wanted me to drive around the lot to see the GLB model, and then had me drive both. So I was in the GLA. He wanted me to drive the GLB to see how they both drove differently. We headed towards where they were parked, but a flatbed was in the way. He had me turn around and wanted to show me how the self button, or the self-park button, works. We tried several times, but it didn't cooperate. That's every car dealer's nightmare, every car salesman's nightmare, certainly when you're trying to demonstrate something and it doesn't work. So there was an embarrassing moment. The self-parking didn't work in this Mercedes. I likely won't use it, I said. Let me just back in, because that's how I usually park, trying to make Marcos feel a little better. We then headed out for the test drive. He went over all the features of the car, emphasized how safe they are. We headed back, and he suggested we try to see the GLB model again and also try the self-park. Okay, my heart's starting to palpitate now. He had me go to super slow, but the feature didn't work again. In 2 different model new Mercedes. Oh God, Marcos has got to be sick inside. But I didn't like the boxy way the GLB looked, and I wasn't in the mood to do another test drive. He said, well, it sounds like you're set with this one. Am I correct? Yes, I confirm. I let him know I really am not looking to waste anyone's time. I'm not buying it over MSRP, plain and simple. In fact, I like to be right around, if not below, MSRP out the door. See, Agent Lightning is pushing, being a little aggressive here, which he should be. Marco said he thinks that sounds reasonable. That's good news. And we'll see what he can do. We headed over to his desk. He pulled me up in their system in the computer. If you've ever been to any AutoNation store, you'll be in our system. He explained, and sure enough, he found my name easily. He then excused himself to go get some numbers and returned a few minutes later with a worksheet. The top line was MSRP, $50,475. Then came a $500 discount, whoopee. But then they added, here we go, $699 for the appearance package, $699 for dent protection. Next came a $199 electronic filing fee. That's a junk fee. And here's another junk fee, $995. They call this one a dealer services fee. My real price was $52,567, $2,092 over MSRP. Out the door, I was over $56,000. What do you think, he asked? I was hoping for more than a $500 discount and less fees, I replied, but what would make me buy today is being under MSRP out the door. She's pushing again. He wrote that number down at the bottom of the sheet and then said he would be back. Here he goes back to the manager. A few minutes later, he returned with his sales manager, Natalie. Now, isn't it pleasant? This is the third or fourth week of the road that I've commented that we've had female salespeople, females. Almost every shopping report now has a female involved somewhere. And here we have Natalie at the Mercedes AutoNation dealership, Natalie, a female manager. She asked, what's bringing you all the way down here from North Palm Beach, meaning Fort Lauderdale or Coconut Creek? My husband works down here. Besides, we're not exactly big fans of our local dealership, I explained. She laughed. She knows Sodom and Gomorrah, and she's in Sodom and Gomorrah, so she knows what I'm talking about, and says she understands, would love to earn my business today, but noted these are their cars that move fast and don't see any way to get me below MSRP out the door. She says, will your husband be available soon? I said, he will not step foot in a dealership until he has a final number from me, I asserted. She thought for a minute and wrote on the paper that she can definitely get me $53,000 out the door on a piece of paper. She then mentioned she probably still has a little wiggle room for when I come back to make the purchase. So there's the incentive, She's letting the customer out on the street. She knows the customer is going to be shopping and comparing the price, so gives her a little something to think about before she buys somewhere else, so she'll come back. That's standard operating procedure. I thank Natalie and I thank Marcos, and they waited for me to get their card, and then I left. So there you have the shopping report, and this is a Mercedes electric car dealership in South Florida, owned by AutoNation. They're a publicly held company, and largest retailer in the country, or second largest.
Yeah. You can vote, ladies and gentlemen, and we love hearing from you. That text number is 772-497-6530. That's 772-497-6530.
Now remember, we don't hold the things against them that we would do if this were a normal retailer. If you went into Costco or someplace and they started charging you prep fees and this insurance or that insurance and a lot of junk fees, you'd give them a bad grade. But car dealers, they all do it. So if they all do it and we gig everybody for everything they do wrong, then we have no list of dealers that we could recommend. And part of our mystery shopping report is to provide for you, and this is EarlOnCars.com, if you want to go to a car dealership that is better than the others. Now, we're not saying they're good or great, we're saying they're better. So we have a list of better dealers and a list of worse dealers. you stay away from the worst dealers. The only way you get to be a worst dealer on the list is an F, and you really got to do something illegal, outrageous to get on the F. So if they're bad, give them a D, but don't fail them unless they're really, really bad.
Or if you want to go into the worst dealers and just mess with them and drive the car all over, use up their gas, and eat up all their bagels and their snacks, and then go somewhere else to buy the car.
Yeah, just harass them.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That's
Great
always
idea.
fun. Okay, let's see here. I've got T Cash says, F, forget auto parking, park that German junk yourself, and run away from the fake fees.
Sounds like a World War II vet.
I don't think he likes Mercedes. Bob from Maryland says, it would have been a B, but I didn't get the dent protection, and the B had 2 dents and turned into an F. Oops.
Who's that?
That was Bob from Maryland.
Bob, I love your sense of humor. I like that.
Crazy Bob. I love it.
Okay, here we go. Johnny Z. Fradley says, instead of having a working self-park mode, it had a go park it yourself mode. 53K, I'll give a C. Tom Steckel
I love
says,
these YouTubers.
B minus.
Go park it yourself.
Go park it yourself mode.
What was that grade? E minus?
Tom Steckel says, B minus.
B minus.
Luxury car dealers should not play games. However, addendum label stated that the additional items were not required to be purchased. No tie-in sale. Without dealer fees, it would be an A. Mark Smith says, I'll give the dealership a C+. Brian Sidlatko, I think they should get a C. Joseph Kelleher, D, grading on the curve. And see if any others coming in. Check it. Whoop, here's Anne Marie says, C, sounds like an average dealer here in Sodom and Gomorrah. And we are the wild, wild west. For me, I think they could get rid of those fees. You know, it's a Mercedes. Put the price where it should be. Put the fees in the price where they're supposed to be, and advertise an honest price. Otherwise, I give it a C. I think it's pretty average.
What are you saying, Nancy?
This is a tough one, and there's a lot of fees here, and I don't like fees. You know me. I don't like fees. But the ladies did a good job, and, I'm going to give them a D.
Wow.
A D.
That's tough. You know, when Nancy and I were coming to the studio, I said I thought maybe a B. I changed my mind. See, we're comparing luxury car dealers. So luxury car dealers generally do a better job in terms of treating the customer with transparency and honesty. It's also an AutoNation store, publicly owned, very, very large, 200 and some odd car dealerships around the country. Because they're publicly owned, they are under the spotlight, and they are watching their stock price. And if you get indicted, it doesn't help your stock price. So everybody in AutoNation is motivated to have a good image. You got to have an honest, transparent image. And I don't think the store deserves a B. I'm going to give them a C minus. And C, I changed my mind considerably listening to all the other scores and thinking about it was AutoNation and it was Mercedes. And in Sodom and Gomorrah is still a C minus, and they need to get their. You know, if a top executive from AutoNation hears about this, I think they would call the store, and it would be something silly. The Monroney label's got to be on the window. I mean, they could get and if they go after one AutoNation store, they're going to go after all the AutoNation stores. Can you imagine what would happen if the Federal Trade Commission is listening? If you want to really get somebody's attention, go after AutoNation, because you can hit all their stores, find them all. It's one company.
Absolutely. And Senator Monroney, he worked really hard, real hard, to put that into place and to make it. There's a penalty, $1,000 fine for not, for the Monroney label not being displayed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. We certainly enjoyed our time with you. You are an extremely fantastic part of the show, and we thank you for that. Have a great weekend, and you can see us right back here at 8 o'clock next weekend